فرجه. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون. هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. One of the benefits of attending the Majlis Az-Zahra of Abdullah al-Hussein is yesterday we started the Surah Al-Mulk, and today we listened to ayat from Surah Al-Hashr. In these ayat, in the Kitabullah, Kitab al-Quran al-Hakim, there is many lessons for us to follow. And Kalamullah Majid is, I always say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks to us through the Quran, and then we make dua to talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask Him for our needs and our requests. And I also mentioned that most of us can remember the people who before us, when we were growing up, introduced us to the Majlis Az-Zahra of Abdullah al-Hussein, and many of them are not here anymore. So they have passed away, and they are in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today, I started my day to hear one of the dearest brothers, one of the Mu'mineen that was in Kansas City, has passed away in Chicago. And inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. So as he awaits for his burial, and I know that he himself, one of the close friend of Maulana Faizi in Chicago, and when Maulana Faizi cannot attend the masjid, he was making the aqama and salat. And I feel envy to him because he has chosen a path to raise his family and his children in a way of Allah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I'm not sure how and why. If he was sick, he passed away, but it was sudden. And that's the fate of most of us. We think that we forever. His name is Muhammad Reza Shirvani, and he was very famous around here. He was one of the Muslim students, and he was one of the people who in Kansas City was attending this majlis. And now I know him for more than 40 some years. So inshallah, if you get a chance, say the salawat and a fatiha for his soul. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him mercy. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Imam al-Hussein, on a day like this, or tomorrow, enters the land of Karbala, and he's told, and he was told many, many times before that, that this is the land that he's going to be shaheed in. So he has chosen his path, and he had, in many ways, knew about what's going to happen. And he warned his companions and his family that this way that, like Maulana said, when he left Medina, when he left Mecca, he was actually very much in line with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted for him. Most of us, we come here, as I said yesterday, to offer our condolences to Imam Zamanna, because he, by all means, is Imam Hazir, and he is the Sahib Azah. So, in doing so, we have certain responsibilities. And inshallah, as a khadim of Imam Hussein, we'll be able to help other people to understand the message. And maybe one day when I'm not here, somebody else would ask for blessing for my soul. But in many ways, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we have an opportunity to far away from our homeland. With most of us, we are from somewhere else. And we have an opportunity to come to a majlis, ask for blessing of people who contributed to establish a center like this. Many of the brothers throughout these years, 16, 17, 18 years, came and go and contributed. Many, many people also offered their time and their money and their effort to keep this center alive. And believe it or not, it's a huge blessing on our community, on our speaker, mashallah, that he leaves his family, his community, and comes here to enlighten us, and inshallah we benefit from it. So I invite you to benefit from the meeting tonight and the nights coming, and maybe we can, if not anything else, at least get a point that we have spent our time in the Madrasa Abu Abdullah. If 12 nights comes and we don't get any points, that's our khusran. That's it. Al-asr inna al-insana lafi khusr, is that when you go to a meeting and you do not come out with something that you have learned from that time that you offered for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And in doing so, if there is anything that we as a muassiseen, if the beginners and founders, we can offer to make your attendance beneficial more, please let us know. Let me know. And I do my best to be a host for you, inshallah. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Bar Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad bulantar salawat. Inshallah, Brother Hussain will be here soon to do the Marsiya. In the meantime, present salam. Bar Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad bulantar salawat. गरीब ज़हरा की गुर्बत सुनो اے اہل عزا، غریب زہرا کی غربت سنو، اے اہل عزا، اکیلا رہ گیا مقتل میں جب میرا مولا، سپاہ شام نے چاروں طرف سے گھیر لیا، اور لب فرات تھا ہر ایک خون کا پیاسا، تھا گل چراغ امامت ابھی بجھانا ہے، زمیں سے زین پہ شبیر کو گرانا ہے، زمیں پہ زین سے شبیر کو گرانا ہے۔ یہ سن کے سنگ کسی نے جبین پر مارا، کسی نے پہلو میں برچی کا پھل اتار دیا، کسی نے سامنے آ کر چلائی تیغ جفا، غریب زہرا قاضی پر سنبھلنا مشکل تھا، علی و زہرا کو رن میں رلایا جاتا تھا، حسین گرتے نہیں تھے گرایا جاتا تھا، لگا جو تیر تو اصغر کو شہر نے یاد کیا، پکارا غازی کو جس وقت سر پہ گرز لگا، لگی جو برچھی تو اکبر کو دی تڑپ کے صدا، اور تماچا خون نے مارا تو بولے یا زہرا، علی کو یاد کیا سر پہ ضرب چلتے ہوئے، اور حسن کو یاد کیا منہ سے خون گلتے ہوئے، زمیں پزین سے حضرت جموں کے بل آئے، جو تیر سینے میں تھے پشت سے نکل آئے، نکل کے پہلو سے سب برچھیوں کے پھل آئے، قرار کے اس طرح بشے کو ایک پل آئے، رکاب پیروں سے ابن علی کی چھوٹ گئیں، تمام پسلیاں سبتے نبی کی ٹوٹ گئیں، غریب زہرا کی غربت سنو اہل عزا، اکیلا رہ گیا مقتل میں جب میرا مولا، محمد صلی علی محمد اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد. حضرت علی اکبر اور ان کی بہن کے حال پہ ایک سلام ہے. بہت پرانا ہے، شاید کچھ لوگوں کو یاد ہو. مجھے علی اکبر مل علی اکبر، ماں باپ کی صورت مجھے دکھلا علی اکبر، علی اکبر. دن آنے کے تیرے میں گنا کرتی ہوں بھیا، دن آنے کے تیرے میں گنا کرتی ہوں بھیا، وہ دن بھی کبھی ہوگا کہ تم آؤ گے اکبر، وہ دن بھی کبھی ہوگا کہ تم آؤ گے اکبر، علی اکبر. محمد وآل محمد نرنتر صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل محمد وآل محمد صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل. For the love of the Holy Prophet and his holy family, please recite the second salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. For the reappearance of our awaited Savior, please recite the third salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We continue this journey of love that Imam Hussain alayhi salam has taken. And we accompany Imam Hussain alayhi salam, and we reach a station where in today's Marsiya, he hears about the Shahadat of Hazrat Muslim. And so the poet tries to capture the events that are surrounding the Shahadat of Hazrat Imam Muslim alayhi salam, Hazrat Muslim alayhi salam. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. There is a continuation of the theme of leaving the homeland in this poetry also. इंसान के लिए मौत है गम बेवतनी का, जहाँ का है अंदोह अलम बेवतनी का, सदमा नहीं कुछ मौत से कम बेवतनी का, आफत है क़यामत है सितम बेवतनी का, कांटों के अलम सैयदे सज्जाद से पूछो, ईज़ाए सफर मुस्लिम नाशाद से पूछो, ईज़ाए सफर मुस्लिम नाशाद से पूछो, कि सख्त दगा कूफियों ने घर से बुला के सब फिर गए जिन लोगों के दावे थे वफा के, लाखों है अदू जाए किधर जान बचा के, आफत में गिरफ्तार हुए कूफे में आके, यावर नहीं हमदम नहीं गमखार नहीं है, नरगे में है और कोई मददगार नहीं है, नरगे में है और कोई मददगार नहीं है, मुँह कर के सुए चरक कहा शुक्र खुदाया, राहत है ये बंदे ने जो कुछ जुल्म उठाया, गम ये है कि है दूर यदुल्लाह का जाया, शब्बीर के हाथों से कफन हमने ना पाया, دنیا سے سوئے خلد کوئی دم میں سفر ہے، یا ہم پر جو کچھ بن گئی کیا ان کو خبر ہے، یا ہم پر جو کچھ بن گئی کیا ان کو خبر ہے. یہ کہتے تھے مسلم کے لعینوں نے خزارہ، ایک سنگ ستم اس لب مجروح پمارا. ریش اور گریباں میں لہو بھر گیا سارا، جب حال یہ پہنچا تو جنگ کا جب حال یہ پہنچا تو کہا جنگ کا یارا. آدا سے کہا دل میں ذرا رحم کو جا دو، غش آتا ہے پانی مجھے تھوڑا سا پلا دو، غش آتا ہے پانی مجھے تھوڑا سا پلا دو. کب سنتے تھے بے کس کا سخن ظلم کے بانی، تھے قتل کی تدبیر میں وہ دشمن جانی. لے آئی ضعیفہ وہیں ایک جام میں پانی، قسمت نے مگر بجھنے نہ دی تشنہ دہانی. سوکھی ہوئی تھی گل سی یا خشک گلو تھا، اس پانی کو منہ سے جو لگایا تو لہو تھا، اس پانی کو جو منہ سے جو لگایا تو لہو تھا. پھینکا اسے جب خاک پہ بادیدہ گریاں، ایک جام ضعیفہ نے دیا پھر انہیں اسے پینے بھی نہ پایا تھا کوئی گھونٹ وہ ذیشاں، پانی میں جدا ہو کے گرے گوہر دنداں. فرمایا کہ ثابت ہوا پیاسے ہی مریں گے، اب ساقی کوثر ہمیں سیراب کریں گے، اب ساقی کوثر ہمیں سیراب کریں گے. القصہ لبے بام جو لایا انہیں صفاق، تر آنسوؤں سے ہو گیا مسلم کا رخ پاک. فریاد سوئے کعبہ یہ کی بادل غمناک، روحی بفدا کا پسر سید لالاک. کرتا ہے سفر خلق سے غمخوار تمہارا، موقوف ہے اب حشر پہ دیدار تمہارا، موقوف ہے اب حشر پہ دیدار تمہارا. فرما کہ یہ گردن طرف قبلہ جھکائی، شمشیر جفاکار نے چمکا کے اٹھائی. آواز یہ مخدوم ہے کونین کی آئی، مرتا ہے ہراول میرا بچے کا دہائی. اس ظلم سے باز آ جا خدا کا تجھے ڈر ہے، ظالم سر مسلم پہ میرا ہاتھ سپر ہے، ظالم سر مسلم پہ میرا ہاتھ سپر ہے. میرے لیے کم حشر کے دن سے یہ نہیں دن، تربت سے میں نکلی ہوں لیے لاش محسن. مظلوم کو تو قتل تو کرتا ہے وہ لیکن بن باپ کے ہو جائیں گے بچے کئی کم سن. خون سر پن لے چھوڑ دے آوارہ وطن کو، کر بیوانہ عباس دلاور کی بہن کو، کر بیوانہ عباس دلاور کی بہن کو. زہرا نے کئی بار تڑپ کر یہ پکارا، کیا دل تھا کہ مطلق نہ ڈرا وہ ستمارا. जालिम ने कई ज़रब में सर तन से उतारा, फटा है जिगर अब नहीं गोयाई का यारा। लिखा है चला लेके जो खातिल सर मुस्लिम, कोठे के तले फेंक दिया पै कर मुस्लिम, कोठे के तले फेंक दिया पै कर मुस्लिम। सलवात अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद।
मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद बुलंद कर सलावत।
अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद।
खुशनूद इमाम ज़माना बारी दीगर सलावत।
अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद।
سورة المباركة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله، صلى الله عليك يا ابن رسول الله، روحي وجسمي وأرواح العالمين لك الفداء يا غريب ويا مظلوم كربلاء. ثم السلام عليكم يا أهل الأذى الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته مع الصلوات. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، إنا علينا الهدى يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم، فإن تنازعتم في شيء فردوه إلى الله والرسول إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر، ذلك خير وأحسن تأويلا. صلوات. In His infinite wisdom, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in His creation, He made it such that all His creation are somehow or another linked to Him. This is His greatest mercy, that He wanted and He made it sure that every single creation that He has created will depend upon Him. And that is an honor for the creation that He has made. And therefore He has guaranteed, as we have read in these verses, that definitely, without any doubt, I am going to guide you. And this guidance, you will see, is in two forms. There is this internal guidance and there is external guidance. Internal guidance is the way a human being has been created, that every human being, the human body functions is in the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if a liver is the way it acts, and the way the kidney works, and the way the human mind works, is all under the control of the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because there is nothing Allah says that is there in His creation that acts and He is not aware of it. Therefore, there is that internal system that works automatically, and there is that part of internal system that needs to be activated. The human mind, to a certain extent, acts according to his own way he works, per se. But there are certain human functions inside him that need to be activated. Therefore, there is also external guidance. And that is, as we have said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul. There is therefore an external guidance that will help you in every other matters in your life, plus that guidance will activate those parts that are hidden inside you. Therefore, you'll see there are certain people, spiritual, you're so much so developed that they can see and they can understand what normal people would not. That is because of guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore, you will see the system of guidance has been coming to prophets. 124,000, right from Adam up to Khatam. All these prophets, they came as guides to help us. However, you will see that the society that existed at the time of Nabi Adam is not the same as it is today. There has been evolution, the social economic system in which human beings live has been evolving, it's been coming out. Therefore, Allah says in the Quran, there is no change in His Sunnah, there is no change in His system. However, as societies develop, His system also develops, and the same people begin to understand it. And therefore, you had all these prophets of the past, starting from Adam, and then Noah, and then we came to Nabi Musa, then Nabi Isa, and finally, our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. That was that part of guidance in accordance with the requirements of the socio-political economic system that existed in those days. Therefore comes the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and as we found out on the day of Ghadir, we are told that now Allah has completed His religion. Therefore, there is going to be a change of guidance. Those who are going to be the guide will be different in the sense that there will be no more prophets per se. And therefore, as we read in these verses, there is therefore the system of ulil amri minkum. Who are these ulil amr? And now we have to understand one thing, and that is, which we said yesterday, that the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is such that man kana walam ya'rifu imama zamanihi faqad mata mitatan jahiliya. You have got to understand and know who your guide is. During the time of the Prophet was the guide. After the Prophet, the silsila changes. Now it becomes a question of Imam. As the Prophet himself said to Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam, you are to me like Harun was to Musa. The only difference now is there is going to be no prophet, but you will assume the functions that the prophet has been doing. And therefore, in these verses, you see Ati'ullah or Ati'ur Rasul. And who is this Rasul? And who is that? We listened yesterday the sermon of Imam Hussein. What did he say? That I am going out for Islah of Ummah. What is going to the basis of this Islah? Amra bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar. But then, what is this Amra bil Ma'ruf? What is the goodness that I am going to advocate? And what is the viciousness that I am going to tell you to stay away from? Based on what? The seerah and the sunnah of my grandfather, the Prophet. and my grandfather, the Prophet, and my father, Ali ibn Abi Talib. See, this is the basis on which we have to now look ourselves at this point. If we do not know who is Imam of the time, who is the guide of the time, we will die the death of ignorance. Now, what is this death of ignorance? Here it means really you've died non-Muslim. What you have died, whatever you may be, you have died not a Muslim. You've stayed away from Islam. If this is the reason, it is very, very important for us to know what is our position right now, and that is the role of the Imam of the time. That this world, therefore Allah says, the Prophet has said, and the Imams have mentioned, this world cannot survive even for an iota of a time with the absence of a hujjah of the time. There has to be a hujjah of that. Otherwise, this world will be destroyed, will totally, it will disappear. Therefore, we have to know what is our duty during this time. First of all, we have to recognize who is the Imam of the time. And therefore, we will see that there was again a change. Every community, if you look at the history of all these Imams, of all these prophets, there have been tests. Why have there been tests? So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to keep a complete contact. This is His mercy. He wanted to have every human being, every creature so close to Him. And to have that closeness, the way He created them is such that they have to go through these tests. And therefore, our test in this time of the year when we live is ghaiba of the Imam. Whereas all these ages, with all the difficulties, they had the guide of Allah in front of them. They had access to Him, direct access. They knew Him, they saw Him, they recognized Him. The test for this era in which we live, that is our test. We'll talk more about these days in the later nights that we are going to talk. For today, therefore, what is it as a mu'min? What do we want to do? If we want to be the one addressed here, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, not Ya ayyuhan nas. No, we want to be those who are addressed here as Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. So what is it that we have to know? About the Imam of the time, there are two essential things. There are some things that you have to know. Those are the most fundamental things that we have to know. And then there are those other things which are not fundamental per se, but they help us understand the fundamentals. Therefore, what is it that we have to deal with, which is absolutely we have to do? If you read one salawat, they will briefly look at this. First and foremost, who is He? You have to know, who is He? We already said, He is, for us, the Prophet had said, and this is mentioned even in the books of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jamaat, and they all accept this fact, that there is going to be a Hujjah. There is going to be a Mahdi. However, as we mentioned yesterday, for whatever reasons, people have misinterpreted it. And there are those ulamas, they know, the Prophet mentioned there will be 12. After me, there will be 12 guides and successors. So who are these 12? There are those who say these 12 are the first 4 Khalifa, and then 8 Khulafa from the Banu Umayyah. All of them, everybody knows. were the most corrupt people in the world. We are not saying it. It's written in all the books. And if you had time to talk about what their corruption was, you will be surprised. You won't even believe that some of them, for example, had a swimming pool that we have full of liquor and was swimming in swimming pool. Those are the ones which some of our brothers say are among those 12 people. But the tradition which is mentioned by those who are honest, and one of them is a great personality from Ahlul Sunnah wal Jamaat. His name is Suleiman Hanafi Naqshbandi Kundusi Balkhi, Al-Kundus. In his book, he mentions actually the names of all the 12 successors of the Prophet, whom the Prophet himself had mentioned when he was questioned. So we know who the last one is, and that is Hazrat Muhammad Sahib al-Asri wal-Zaman, the son of our 11th Imam. However, because of situations were such that this Imam, and we'll talk about later on why did he go to Ghaiba, why it is Ghaiba. We'll talk about that inshallah later on if we have time. But he is the one who is Ghaib, who is in Ghaiba. But he is there. And he is the son of our 11th Imam. And his name is Muhammad. And therefore we have always heard this. Awwaluna Muhammad, wa akhiruna Muhammad, wa awsatana Muhammad, kulluna Muhammad. See? These are the 12 ones, the Prophet himself being, of course, the head of them all. See? So this is that. Who is this then? He is the Imam of the time. And because of the situation was such that his birth had to be kept secret. Why? Because Banu Umayyah, Bani Abbasi knew that there is going to be this Mahdi and he is going to end our system. And therefore they were trying to make sure that such a child is not born, like what the pharaohs did for Nabi Musa, that he should not be born. So there was all this effort. And that's why you will see the last 3 Imams, the 9th Imam, the 10th Imam, and 11th Imam, they passed away in they didn't have that much long life to live. Our 11th Imam, only 28 years of life. He was killed. Why? There should be no child born from him. And therefore, because of that, the birth of this Imam had to be kept secret. But now, how do we know that he was born? Therefore, today we'll look at the proof that how did the 11th Imam made sure that the birth of this Imam is established among what? Among those who were true and were close to him, and that they would then, because of their character in the community was such, they would be able to pass this message that the child was born. So briefly, if you read one salawat, we'll look at some of these proofs that the Imam did. Number 1, the wife of the Imam, 11th Imam, did not show any sign of pregnancy. Therefore, no one knew that she was pregnant. However, on this 14th night of the month of Shaban, Hakima, who is the aunt of our 11th Imam, the daughter of the 9th Imam, Hakima, she pays visit. And when she is there, this is the night in which when she wants to go back home, the Imam tells her, stay behind. Say, why should I stay behind? So a child is going to be born. A child is going to be born. Whom from? She's from this particular one, this lady. But she doesn't show any sign of. This is like Nabi Musa's mother, This is what Narjis Khatun. Narjis will give birth to a child tonight. Stay behind. She stays behind. It's a long story. I don't have time to go into all that. She became the witness. She saw everything that happened. She records. And now, because she was a very, very reliable person in the family, in the community, she became one of the witnesses, and she communicated this information in the family, so that people in the family came to know that a child was born. And details are given about what she saw and all that. We don't have time to go into all that. Maybe you've already heard about it. She becomes one of those narrators. He's the only one? No. Now, in that house, there were servants. There were ladies who were working in that house, Nasim and Maria. These were workers in the house. They witnessed this. And therefore, for the common people to whom these two ladies were related, they conveyed this message also. This was the way this message was being conveyed, that a child was born, and it was not an ordinary child. All the surrounding things that happened, that the child was the way he was born, and the way he showed all this sign, and the way he was, and the way he read kalima, and the way he mentioned some of the verses of the Quran, فَجَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَزَاقَ الْبَاطِلِ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. They related this, and this message slowly, therefore, penetrated in the community. The community of who? Of the believers. Then there is a third one, a neighbor. There is a neighbor, and a long story is written here about this neighbor who mentioned Bishr bin Sulaiman, and how Imam, 10th Imam, called this person Bishr and sent him all the way to Baghdad to do what? To purchase, to get this lady who was to become the mother of the 12th Awjat. Long story about it. How this Bishr goes there, how she meets this lady, how she brings this lady at home. He narrates it before he passes away. He, Bishr now, narrates to somebody, say, before I die, this is what I did. So there is another person outside who's from among the community. He comes to know, oh, so there was a lady, yes, and this is what happened. Now there is another lady in the neighborhood. His nephew or his relative was a complete against the mazhab of Ahlul Bayt. And one day he visits her and he tells her, she asks, where are you going? So you know where I'm going? I'm going to Zari of Imam Hussein. The lady knows. She says, you making fun of this? And the man himself narrates. Sheikh Suduq alayhi rahmah mentions this, the sources. I don't have time to go into the details. He says that, and he is not a believer, and he says, this lady said, do not make a fun of Hussein ibn Ali. You know who these people are? Then she tells him that on that night before this is what happened. Angelic persons came to my house and asked me, your services are needed in the neighborhood here. And ultimately this lady says, I was taken in this neighborhood, and a child was born. And now he describes all the sides of the Prophet Imam. She is also therefore a witness, you see. There is not one person, there is a group of people who are involved. And therefore he communicated this knowledge that a child was born. And not only was the child born, that the child was born with these qualities. The qualities which people knew were more associated with the prophets of the past and the imams who have lived. These are and then more than that, there is the imam himself. He instructs one of his agents, 11th imam, one of his agents. You know what? Arrange to send out those things which are sent out when the child is born. Meat and some good stuff that normally at that time, and even today, there's a culture. When those things are sent out to families, people know that a child was born. So he said it's a lot, it's about 10,000 pounds. A lot of meat was served to various mu'mineen. Meat was sent to their houses. And these mu'mineen said, why this is coming from? A child is born. You understand? The whole community, how this message of the birth of the Imam of the time is spread out throughout the community. So that everybody comes to know about the child that is born. And then there are those people who receive, see, this is how the system works. Those who receive this meat say, let's go there. So they would pay visit to the house of the Imam. And then they would see this child. And there was a lot of miracles. For example, there's one person wants, Imam is already born, he goes there and he's just watching him. He sneezes, and the child tells him, if you sneeze, somebody who sneezes has a life about 3 days. He lives after that. A child like this speaks. See? And then there are those who came, they say, but this child was born only yesterday, 2 days ago. How come he's like, Imam said, these are the hujjah of the Allah. They grow differently from other children. Do you see? So this is how Imam's birthday was established, so that community people knew that the child was there. However, he was kept away. Why? Because the spies of the Khalifas of the time were looking for this child. And the child becomes obviously very much outside when the 11th Imam passes away. During the time of leading the Mass, the prayers of the Imam, it is the Imam of the time who will lead the prayers of Janazah. So Ja'far, the brother, he comes forward. He wants to start leading the prayers. A child appears. Now remember, at that time, he was about 5 years of age. But the way he came there, he didn't look like a 5-year child. He looked a child who is very mature, very politely, comes forward very gently. He tells uncle, this place is not yours. It's my place. The uncle, whoever he was, Ja'far, and all those people who were watching there, he moved away. And this young boy stood up, he led the prayers. Now the world knows that the boy not only is there, he is also active. And he has led the prayers of his father. So this is how briefly the Imam is introduced to the community. Therefore, we have to know that he was born. And the next thing is that he is alive. And the question that is raised is, how can a person be alive? And this question appears many times in the Quran. When certain things happen and people don't, immediately, bi'iznillah, by permission of Allah, Nabi Isa does all those miracles. How? Bi'iznillah, when Allah wishes it. When the Prophet said, we are old, we cannot now give birth to children, what does it say? It says in Kul Fayakun. When Allah wishes, it happens. And therefore, this Imam is alive. And many examples are given of those who are still alive, and Muslims accept it. And non-Muslims also accept it. There are these 4 prophets which are still alive. Idris, Khizr, Ilyas, and Nabi Isa. Every Muslim agrees with this. They are still alive. They are all older than our Imam of the time. Our Imam of the time, by calculation, is about 1,200, 1,000. You can make calculation. It's almost 1,200 years that this Imam is there. But that doesn't mean anything for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the example that he's given. And he has given other example. Ashab Kahf are still alive. They are sleeping. But they are still alive. Shaitan is still alive. And can anyone be stronger and longer and have a longer life than Shaitan? And Quran says he's there and everybody knows he's there. And sometimes he moves around us here trying to misguide us. So that question of longevity of life is something that is irrelevant. If you think that we have got, no, there are certain things that we have to accept. And the scientists will tell us, when I talk with scientists about the citation of the moon and these curves and this, and they still say it's not 100% confirmed. Scientists will never ever tell you this is 100% no. So who are we to say sometimes this doesn't make sense to us? There are these things that we have to, and ilmul ghaib, right from the beginning. Right from the beginning. Chapter 2 of the Quran, if you see what Allah talks about, Sayakulu Sufaha. Iman bil ghaib. So these are the test of our time. So this is one thing that we have to know about the Imam of he's there. The second thing is that his abilities. That he, because of Allah has given him this power, he is independent of time and he is independent of space. And that is the reason why he will appear when he will appear. We will say he will be like a young man of about 40 years of age. And he will show all the brilliance and all the qualities that the Prophet had when he was at the age of 40. So time and space are things which limit us. These are the two things which are not there for this Imam of the time. It is by izn of Allah, of course. He can be here now and he can be anywhere else. Why? Because of izn of Allah. But that's not something which is surprising. Because when we die and we go in the next world, we will also be independent of space and time. Wherever you want to go and you wish, you will be there. So it's not something which is, it is something that is there. Bi-iznillah, he is independent of time. He is independent of space. 2. 3 thing is by permission of Allah, he is also aware of what is going on. And by accounts, it is said by traditions, every week he gets information about what we are doing. In those days, it was difficult to understand. But in these days of technology, I still don't believe, but it happens when we sit in the car and somebody is driving and they are, Siri, I want to be, and Siri replies and tells wherever you want to go. And I still think, how can this be? All these people in the world are traveling, and at given point in time, everybody wants to have a reply. And how come this Siri is answering all these questions? I can't believe it. Those who are driving the cars, whether you believe it or you won't believe it, this is what it is. And this is what we live in this era, where miracles, these are miracles. Those days when these things happened, they were called miracles because absolutely people don't understand them. These days, you don't see anything. These are all miracles. Therefore, the Imam of the time is not bound in a particular place. Call him. And Masumin have said, even if a knife is on your neck here, you call him with true faith, he will be there for your help. And all of you here know that. There are times when you got stuck and there was no way out of your problem, and when you call Allah, it is He who came to help. Why? By the izn of Allah. Therefore, He is absolutely independent. Except Allah. Allah guides him. He is the guide. And then there is something else. And that is what also we'll talk later on of then what are we supposed to do? There are several things that we are supposed to do. If you read one salawat, I drive it up. He is with us. He is with us. Only we don't recognize him. Especially in a gathering like this. And this is why I always tell, whenever in the centers these days, because of internet facilities, people sometimes can't come to the center. Sometimes they prefer to stay at home, whatever. But what I say is, if Fatima to Zahra, salawatullahi alayhi, if is best consoled in her house. When a very close friend dies, do we just pick a phone and say, we are very sorry? Very close friend. We go to the house, we sit there and we give consolation. And that's why we come to give consolation here. And the Imam is the time, therefore he comes here. Only we don't recognize him. This is the reason there has to be a discipline in these places where we sit. That when we come here, we understand. Somebody sitting next to you may not even know who he is, but he may be the Imam of the time. Totally incognito. He is there. Well, and as we have said, it's not that he is here so he cannot be somewhere else. He can be here for something, he can be elsewhere. Amirul Mu'minin on the night of Miraj appeared to so many places. And they also, and you know these days. So we have to understand that he is present. He's capable of helping. And that we have to seek wasila. And these days, unfortunately, there are efforts to downgrade the status of the imams and ma'sumin. That we do see that it is shirk to talk and ask from the imams. You just have directly to talk with Allah. You do not have to have wasila. This is going on, and there's no time to talk about this. But this world is such that everybody wants wasila. Everybody. If it is so hot here, you want wasila. You put your air condition. It helps you. You need a wasila. You are sick, I'll go and see a doctor. Why don't I just say, Allah, cure me? It doesn't happen that way. But anyway, that's something else. We have to mind that we are in a stage where we have to be very careful. Imam is there. He's for us. We can call him and he will come. And there are so many examples. I'll mention only one and then inshallah we'll talk of Masaib. If you read one salawat. There is this great scholar, and the scholar is he comes to know of another person who has written a book that's totally against the mazhab of Ahlul Bayt. And that this book is in circulation everywhere. Now, he wants to address all those issues. But it was those days where there was only this one book that he had. And people, the way he was talking to them, this is what happens. Those who are good at oratory can pass a lot of information and convince people and misguide them. And this was one of that person. He had written a book and he was misguiding the people. And this great personality was like, what do I do? How do I save the situation? I have to have that book, see what is inside, and therefore then build up my arguments. I don't have that. What can I do? Therefore, finally, he manages to get that book only for a night. So he sits there. This was the days we didn't have this, all these facilities that we have today. You can copy the books and all. He was starting writing. How much will he write? Then somebody knocks at his door, like a visitor. Can I come and stay in your house for a night? He say, yes, okay, do. He writes the book and he falls asleep. When he gets up in the morning, and then he sees the book is there, totally with a seal. Said this was done by the Imam of the time. Sayyid Akhtar Rizvi, marhum. Most of you know him. He used to tell us there are a lot of things that have happened, but I can't disclose them. And he would keep quiet. He would never say it. Recently, his son, Muhammad Rizvi, who is the resident alim of Toronto Jamaat, he wrote a biography of his father. This biography, in which he narrates, most likely because Sayyid had the habit of writing, keeping personal records, a diary. So it's probably he got it from the diary. He is explaining about how the Imam of the time helped him. The same situation where there were people who are writing against Mazhab of Ahlul Bayt. And he wanted to build up a case. And he wanted to use sources, but he did not have access to those sources. He was so worried that he was so unhappy. And then from nowhere, those sources appeared to him. And he mentions some of these miracles that have happened during his time. So these are the things that we have to bear in mind. Tomorrow, we'll now talk very briefly about this ghaiba. What is this occultation? Why is it occultation? And what are the benefits and what are our responsibilities? That will be tomorrow. Tonight, therefore, we'll mention as it was mentioned in this Marsia, the first martyr of Karbala is Muslim ibn Aqil. Imam Hussein had received requests from people of Kufa that now the tyrant Muawiyah has gone to where he belongs. His son Yazid, who's absolutely incompetent of being the representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is here. Yabna Rasulillah, you come to our rescue. And if you look at these letters, there are two types of letters that were written. There are those people who wrote to him, said, you are the Imam of the time. Therefore, we need you. You are the Imam of the time. The Ummah needs you. And there are others who wrote letters saying, the land is fertile. There's so much richness in here. Come to us. Who are those people? These are the very people. Shis bin Rabi, for example, one of them, who was the actual one who killed Imam Hussein on the day of Ashur. And those who wrote asking him to go because they wanted him because he was Imam of the time, Habib ibn Madar, Muslim ibn Awsija, Saeed. These are, therefore, they will tell us the Shias invited Imam Hussein and the Shias killed him. No way. Those who invited her, the Shias who invited her were for him and lived up to the last moment for him. Those who betrayed him were not Shias. They were the killers of Imam Hussein. They were not Shias. So don't cheat, don't try to tell us that Shias killed Imam Hussein. Anyway, Imam Hussein, therefore, receiving these letters, decided to go leave Medina, and now because he was forced to give bay'ah, and he did not want to give bay'ah, we've talked about it yesterday. Therefore, Imam Hussein decided to leave Medina. Why? He didn't want to give bay'ah, to go to Makkah. And therefore, he went to Makkah. And when he's in Makkah, it's about 12,000 letters were written to him, inviting him to go to Kufa to save the people of Kufa. As the Imam of the time, it was therefore his duty to respond. And in response, therefore, he chose Muslim ibn Aqil. And without going into the details, the Marsiya was all mentioned. Muslim went to Kufa, and it is said about 18,000 people did bay'ah to him, that they are going to support him, 18,000 of them. Based on that, Muslim wrote a letter to Imam Hussein, told him, do come to Kufa. Not that Imam Hussein did not know what was going on, but this is Imam of the time. They work according to the system. Therefore, Imam also decided to leave Makkah. And this is the statement that he gave when he was leaving Makkah. Tomorrow I am going. The way Prophet Yaqub missed his son Yusuf, I also miss my parents. I miss my grandfather. I am therefore going tomorrow. Those of you who come with me for the sake of Allah, join me. But if you think you are going for me to do wealth and make richness, stay where you are. This is what is going to happen when the Imam of the time comes. This is the reason why he is not here. Are we going to be like those people of Kufa, 18,000, and when the time to help him came, there were 10 of them? 10 of them? And when he finished the prayers of Isha, he was alone. No one was there. All had turned away. And then finally he ends up in the court of Ibn Ziyad. And the conversation that takes place there is the same thing. We are Hujjah of Allah. I came here as a representative of Hussein ibn Ali, the Hujjah of Allah. I did not come here for gaining political power. We came as Hujjah of Allah. Ultimately, Muslim ibn Aqil is slaughtered. They kill him, they cut his head, and they send his head as gift to Yazid ibn Muawiyah ibn Abu Sufyan. As if to the body of Muslim is thrown from the palace to the ground, and his legs are tied to ropes, and his body is dragged in the streets of Kufa. As for Sayyid al-Shuhada, Imam Hussein, this is the very day on day of Taraweeh, he leaves Medina, he leaves Makkah, goes towards Iraq, and he reaches a place called Thalabiya or Zuruj, any one of those two places. And the narrator says that they had gone for Hajj, and they wanted to join Imam Hussein after they had finished the Hajj. So they came back, and this is what they narrate. They said they saw Imam Hussein before they could go to him. They saw somebody who's coming from Kufa. So Imam Hussein was looking at that man, and the situation was such that man did not want to talk with Imam Hussein. So these two people went to him, saluted him, asked, "Who are you?" Whatever, he introduced himself. They said, "We are coming from the same tribe. What news do you have from Kufa?" He said, "Kufa, Muslim ibn Aqil has been killed. Hani ibn Aqil has been killed. His body has been pushed and dragged in the streets of Kufa." These two people said, "Well, we have to convey this message to Imam Hussein. How do we do this?" They go to Imam Hussein. He's sitting there surrounded with those who are with him. And they say, we turned to him and we said, "Yabna Rasulillah, we have some message for you, but we would prefer to do this in privacy." Imam says, "There's no need for you to do it in privacy. Say it. We who are here will listen to what you have to say." Then he said, "Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Muslim has been martyred. His body is being taken away. He's being humiliated in the streets of Kufa." Imam Hussein said, "Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim. Muslim, you fulfill your responsibilities, and Allah will reward you for that." Now Muslims, the children are called. Imam Hussein conveys this message to them. "Abdullah, Muhammad, your father has been martyred. He has done what he was supposed to do. Young man, you can now go. I release you from my bay'ah. Go, you are young. Take your mother, take your daughter, take your children. Go. I set you free. Go and have your lives." The children respond, "Ya Abda Rasulillah, we are not going to desert you. We are going to stay on the cause of Allah." Then Imam Hussein conveys this message to those who are with him. "Look, we have reached now this stage. Martyrdom is now there for us." It is said by some accounts that there were others who left Imam and went away. Now Imam Hussein, it is said, wants to convey this message to the family of Muslim. Muslim's wife, Ruqayya, or by some account, Kulsum, is Imam Hussein's sister. It is therefore said, Zakirin have said it, I've seen it in some of the accounts, that Imam Hussein called his sister Zainab. "Oh Zainab, brother Muslim has been martyred. I want to convey this message to Ruqayya and Hamida, the daughter of Muslim. Imam Hussein with Hazrat Zainab. They go in the tent. They go where Ruqayya is. They go where Hamida is. It is said, Imam Hussein, this young daughter of Hazrat Muslim Hamida, she's 5-6 years old. Imam Hussein takes his hand, puts it on the head of this young daughter of Muslim. These children are house of Ahlul Bayt. They know what that means. She turns to Imam. She asks, "Oh my Imam, what is the news of my father?" Imam says, "Qutila, he has been martyred." By account, it is said at that time, Imam said, but so far as I'm alive, I'm like your father. Some narrators say that Sakina, the daughter of Imam Hussein, comes to Hamida. Hamida, don't worry. Sakina is there for you. I don't know what happened on the day of Ashur, at the time when Imam Hussein came to bid farewell to his family. Ya Zainabu, wa ya Kulsum, ya Sakinatu, wa ya Rubab, alaykunna minni salam. At that time, I don't know what Sakina might have told Ruqayya, might have told Hamida. Your father and my father is going to leave us today. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Matame Hussein.
لے گا نہ جانے کتنے یہ کروٹ زمانہ، چاہے ہر ایک شے کو دنیا کی بھول جانا، چاہے ہر ایک شے کو دنیا کی بھول جانا، اجڑا جو ایک دن میں اس گھر کو یاد رکھنا، اے مومنو پیام سرور کو یاد رکھنا، کربو بلا کے خونی منظر کو یاد رکھنا، اے مومنو پیام سرور کو یاد رکھنا، آغوش میں تمہاری معصوم کوئی آئے اور پیار سے کوئی ماں جھولا اسے جھلائے، بانو کی بے بسی کو اصغر کو یاد رکھنا، اے مومنو پیام سرور کو یاد رکھنا، اے مومنو پیام سرور کو یاد، تم کو خدا دکھائے خوشیوں کا ہر سویرا، قسمت سے جب بھی باندھو اپنے پسر کے صحرا، قاسم کو یاد رکھنا، اکبر کو یاد رکھنا، اے مومنو پیام سرور اے مومنو پیام دیکھو نہ زندگی میں مرنا جوان پسر کا، بیٹے کا داغ دل پر ہوتا ہے عمر بھر کا، لیلا کی حسرتوں کو اکبر کو یاد رکھنا، اے مومنو پیام سرور اے مومنو پیام سرور کو یاد، تقدیر سے کسی پر آ جائے جب یتیمی، فرقہ میں باپ کی جب مر جائے کوئی بچی، اولاد والو میری دختر کو یاد رکھنا، اے مومنو پیام سرور اے مومنو پیام سرور کو، بیٹوں کو جو نہ روئی قربان کر کے مجھ پر، اور سر نہیں اٹھایا احسان کر کے مجھ پر، اس جا نثار میری قہر کو یاد رکھنا، اے مومنو پیام سرور اے مومنو پیام سرور کو یاد، بہنوں کو بیٹیوں کو جب بھی ردا اڑانا، ہم بے کسوں کو ہرگز دل سے نہیں بھلانا، میری بہن کے سر کی چادر کو یاد رکھنا، اے مومنو پیام سرور کو یاد رکھ، اے مومنو پیام سرور کو یاد رکھنا، کرب و بلا کے خونی منظر کو یاد رکھنا،
یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین، اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا، اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا، اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا، اے چاند محرم تجھے دیکھ کے مر جائے نا، تجھے دیکھ کے مر جائے نا، بیمار ہے صغرا، اے چاند تو بدلی میں چلا جا، اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا، اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا، اے چاند محرم کے گر زہرا کے لٹنے کی خبر تو نے سنائی، تجھے دیکھ کے روتی ہے محرم میں خدائی 1400 برس بیتے 1400 برس بیتے سب کہتے ہیں شکوہ اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا اے چاند محرم کے تو میں چلا جا اے چاند ملنے کے لیے بھائی کو بے چین بڑی ہے کب سے علی اکبر کی یہ راہوں میں کھڑی ہے بچھڑی ہے یہ مدت سے بچھڑی ہے یہ مدت سے اسے تو نہ نظر آئے چاند محرم کے اے چاند محرم کے جا اے چاند بدلی میں چلا جا اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں ویران گھروں میں نہ اسے نیند ہے آتی اکبر کی جدائی ہے اسے خون رلاتی قدموں کے نشاں ڈھانپ کے قدموں کے نشاں ڈھانپ کے بیٹھی ہے سرے راہ چاند محرم کے بدلی میں جلا اے چاند محرم کے بدلی میں اے چاند محرم کے بدلی میں چلا جا اے چاند گن گن کے جو صغرا نے یہ دن ہیں گزارے زندہ ہے تو اکبر کے وعدوں کے سہارے دن رات تڑپتی ہے دن رات تڑپتی ہے اسے اور نہ تڑپائے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا اے چاند تو بدلی میں چلا جا اے چاند میں چلا جا اے چاند محرم کے بھیا کی جدائی میں پریشان ہے رہتی ہر روز یہ نانا کیوں رو رو کے ہے کہتی اکبر نہ ملا نانا اکبر نہ ملا نانا میں مر جاؤں گی تنہا اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا اے چاند محرم کے بدلی میں چلا جا اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا اے چاند محرم کے بہنوں کا تو بھائیوں سے رشتہ ہی عجب ہے تم بھول گئے مجھ کو کیسا یہ غضب ہے اس पे जिंदा हूँ, विश्वास पे जिंदा हूँ, देखूं तेरा सेहरा है चांद मुहर्रम के, तू बदली में जला जा ए चांद मुहर्रम के, तू बदली में चला जा ए चांद मुहर्रम के, तू बदली में चला जा ए चांद मुहर्रम के, तू बदली में चला जा। रोने नहीं देते मुझे रातों को मुसलमान, बीमारी से बेहाल हूँ कुछ रोज की मेहमान, हर से तुझसे है मुझको, हर से तुझसे है मुझको, अब मौत ने घेरा है चांद मुहर्रम के, तू बदली में चला जा ए चांद मुहर्रम के, तू बदली में चला जा ए चांद मुहर्रम के, तू बदली में चला जा।
इजमान सलावत बुलंद खत्म करें। इन हुसैन की इसके मेहराश बदले शौगदास्त, همگی گریه و نالان دست به دامان او. این حسین کیست که در روز شفاعت مدد است، چشم امید هر آن کس به در خانه اوست. حسینم من، حسینم من، علی را نور عینم من، حسینم من، حسینم من، علی را نور عینم من، حسینم من. من سر دارم چو میدانی، سر دارم چو میدانی، که سردارش که می باشم، سر دارم چه میدانی، که سردارش که می باشم. حسینم من، حسینم من، علی را نور عینم من، حسینم من. لمبه دارم بر این خشکی، لمبه دارم بر این خشکی، او ابشارش که می باشد متاع جان به بازارم، خریدارش که می باشد. حسینم من، حسینم من، علی را نور عینم من، حسینم من. میان خالق و مخلوق قرآن من ربط و پیمندم، برای دین و دینداری تمام هستیم دادم. حسینم من، حسینم من، علی را نور عینم من، حسینم من. شدن طوفان اینو اینجا، زمین از خون شدن در موج. تمام این دشت تو این صحرا، تمام این دشت تو این صحرا، بوان در بحر خون در رود. حسینم من، علی را نور عینم من. حسینم من، من برفتم هستیم از دست، خدا را در ثنایم من. صبورم در مصیبت ها، بلب ذکر دعایم من. حسینم من، علی را نور عینم من. حسینم من، خلیلم من در این میدان، میان لشکر یادم. شکستم بود در این عالم، همانند خلیل الله. حسینم من، علی را نور عینم من. حسینم من، من عزیزانم به قربانی بیاوردم در این صحرا. هدف من چون خلیل دارم، کنم در این خدا احیا. حسینم من، علی را نور عینم من. حسینم من، به قربانی فرستادم، به قربانی فرستادم. جوانم را به قربانگاه، برای حفظ دین حق بدادم فی سبیل الله. حسینم من، علی را نور عینم من. حسینم من،
तमाम आलम में आज मातम, तमाम आलम में आज मातम, हुसैन बेकस का हो रहा है। तमाम आलम में आज मातम, हुसैन बेकस का हो रहा है। तमाम आलम में आज मातम, अलम घरों में सजे हुए हैं, दिलों में फर्शे अज़ाब छा है। तमाम आलम में आज मातम, हुसैन बेकस का हो रहा है। तमाम आलम में आज मातम, हुसैन बेकस का हो रहा है। तमाम आलम में आज मातम, हुसैन बेकस का हो रहा है। सियाह कपड़े सियाह चादर, गमों की गर्दो गुबार सर पर। सियाह कपड़े सियाह चादर, गमों की गर्दो गुबार सर पर। है सोगवारों के अश्क जारी, किसानिए ज़हरा बेरदा है। तमाम आलम में आज मातम, हुसैन बेकस का हो रहा है। तमाम आलम में आज मातम, نہ چشم پر نام ہو کیوں سوالی، جلوس ہے زلجنا خالی. نہ چشم پر نام ہو کیوں سوالی، جلوس ہے زلجنا خالی. کہ میرا دل سوار مولا زمین کربل میں سو رہا ہے. تمام عالم میں آج ماتم حسین بے کس کا ہو رہا ہے. تمام عالم میں آج ماتم حسین بے کس کا ہو رہا ہے. حسین پیری میں دل سنبھالے کہ دل سے الجھی سے نہ نکالے. حسین پیڑی میں دل سنبھالے، جوان بیٹا لہو میں ڈوبا زمین پہ ایڑی رگڑ رہا ہے. تمام عالم میں آج ماتم حسین بے کس کا ہو رہا ہے. وہ عابد بیمار تھا، وہ عابد بیمار تھا، وہ چلنے سے جو لاچار تھا، چلنے سے جو لاچار تھا. اور شام کا بازار تھا، اور شام کا بازار تھا. اور مصطفیٰ کی بیٹیاں مولا حق امام کا حسن کا حسین، مولا حق امام کا حسن کا حسین. اور شبیر کی وہ لاڈلی، شبیر کی وہ لاڈلی. اور سینے پہ جو شاہ کے پلی، سینے پہ جو شاہ کے پلی. اور جس کی ابارن میں جلی، جس کی ابارن میں جلی. منہ پر تماچوں کے نشان، مولا حق امام کا حسن یا حسین، مولا حق امام کا حسن یا حسین، حسین 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 حسین.
متوجہ زیارت. السلام علیکم یا ابا عبداللہ، السلام علیکم ابن رسول اللہ، السلام علیکم ابن امیر المومنین وابن سید الوسیین، السلام علیکم ابن فاطمة الزہرا سیدۃ النساء العالمین، السلام علیکم سائر شہداء کربلا، خصوصاً سیدی و مولاي ابا الفضل العباس یا ابن امیر المومنین. السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. السلام علیکم یا غریب الغرباء، السلام علیکم یا معین الضعفاء والفقراء، السلام علیکم یا سلطان یا ابا الحسن یا علی ابن موسیٰ ایھا الرضا. السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. السلام علیکم یا صاحب العصر والزمان، السلام علیکم یا شریک القرآن، السلام علیکم یا امام الانس والجان. عجل اللہ تعالی فرجک وسعل اللہ تعالی مخرجک وظہورک. السلام علیکم وعلی آبائک الطیبین الطاہرین. السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ.